fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions. Fact, don't ask, grab reactions. Jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused. Call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now. Y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Q's show here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Izuku Midoriya, and well, he has learned about his true identity. Now, Izuku Midoriya, one night, he felt something call to him, and he went to find it, encountering Momo, who was running away from an accidental death that she caused. Now, Momo decided to hide in a place Midoriya knew about, and these two did begin to talk and learn a bit more about each other, until you do have Melissa Shield, or the Horseman of Death, who did show up. Now, she explained what they are, and Midoriya, he was able to understand it a little bit better, as you also did have Momo, who, she was confused. However, things did begin to make some more sense. Something in her mind is telling her that this is perfectly fine. This is how things are supposed to be. The chaos, the death, it's as it should be. The natural order. And you do actually have Midoriya, who, he is growing out of his pacifistic ways. Now, with that being said, Midoriya was informed that he will go through changes, physically, along with Momo. And everyone did then exchange contact information, as we actually do pick up with Midoriya, roughly about 1 week later. Now, it was somewhat difficult for Midoriya to explain to Mitsuki exactly why he left. And whenever he did come back, he didn't really say a lot. Bakugo did try to interrogate his friend. However, Midoriya did not say a word, and he didn't really budge at all. However, he does seem to be different. Bakugo did notice that Midoriya, he actually did try to start training physically. And he did even seem to feel a little bit less angry at Midoriya. Now, Midoriya, over the course of this week, he has been getting control over his powers. Ones that he's never known existed, he can finally focus on and try to think about, along with the way his body's changed within the last week. Midoriya, he's barely lifted a finger, and he's tried to work out a little bit to try and take his mind off of things, and to focus. It's what his mind is telling him to do. Along with that, he feels like his body's been tearing itself apart piece by piece, and he's growing in muscle mass. Within this last week, Midoriya's put on over 14 pounds in muscle, and it has shown no signs of slowing down. Along with that, Midoriya does notice that he's at least about, well, his biceps are about twice as big as they were before, along with them actually sporting a lot more definition. Now, Midoriya, he has also been trying to at least talk with Momo and learn a bit more about what's going on with her. she's noticed that her body, her particular, well, way she does look, has seemed to somewhat change. She's more of a, well, curvy case, you could say. Some of them have been shrinking and disappearing, showing signs that they're particularly going slender. Now, Momo was confused by this. However, she did learn from Melissa exactly why this is happening. She's not going to lose, well, all of her body weight, all of her body fat, all of her muscles, but it is going to somewhat change around a bit to particularly fit what she used to be. Now, Midoriya, he also did ask a bit more about what's going on with him to Melissa, and she did try to inform him as best she could. Now, we do actually have where Midoriya, he's going to head out today, as he does go to leave. Him getting to the front door as he does go to put on his shoes and go to tie them, as Mitsuki actually does ask him where he's heading to, as Midoriya would turn his head and look directly at her. Him saying that he's going to go out. Izuku, you shouldn't be going out right now. It's kind of dangerous out there. Now, Midoriya's eye would somewhat gleam red, as Mitsuki actually is going to take a step backwards, somewhat in fear. Her herself questioning why she did that. Mitsuki, listen, Midoriya would say, as he does turn around and directly walk up to this woman. Now, Midoriya would look down at her, and he does think about it. Everything he's heard, it must be true. As Midoriya would just tell her, as he does bring his hand up, that he's going to go wherever he wants. And a little violence isn't going to scare him. But aren't you a pacifist? Not anymore, Mitsuki. This world is ugly. And I've seen it. People tear each other apart. War is the simplest pastime. It's the easiest thing for us to engage in. War has no language barriers. It has no favorites. Just numbers, strategy, and men. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go meet with someone. Now, Rhea would turn around. As Mitsuki, she would finally at least take a breath of air. She feels like she was just talking with a man capable of great violence. A man who's seen combat. A man who's seen many battles he should have died in. And she just think for 1 second. The split-second thought about why Inko did what she did shot into her mind. Her son was a monster is what she said. He was going to doom humanity. Mitsuki didn't think very much of it. He was just a shy bookworm a couple weeks ago. But now, that boy's a man. And it somewhat terrified her to think about that. Now, you do actually have where Midoriya, he is walking down the street. And he does notice that no one is particularly staring in his direction. As Midoriya does think about that. Now, this is where Midoriya, he does actually go to walk into the street and cross. As somebody, they do go to walk by Midoriya and try to steal his wallet. Now, they do grab the wallet and take off running. As Midoriya would see this, he does look up from his phone. Now, the person is using a speed-based quirk. And they're roughly running about over, let's just say, twice the human, well, record, or at least physically possible. Let's say they're running about 50 miles an hour, because that's at least above Usain Bolt, but not too crazy to believe, or be out of the realm of possibility, especially for a quirk in a superhuman society. Now, Midoriya would look at this guy take off, as he actually does go to sprint after the guy himself. Now, the guy, he does just think that was an easy target, and that the guy might not even catch up to him. Him going to laugh is actually pull open Midoriya's wallet, and take all the money he had in it before he does go to toss it down on the ground. Now, you do actually have Midoriya, who caught up to this guy who was about 10 blocks away, as Midoriya does ask the guy if that's his. Now, the guy would turn his head to see Midoriya, as he does this thing for a second. How did this guy catch him? Now, the guy does talk about how he must be mistaken, as Midoriya does look down to his wallet. Him walking forwards, as the guy does go to pull a knife, trying to tell Midoriya that he is just going to take the money and leave. If not, he's just going to stab him. Now, Midoriya would calmly walk forwards, and he is 3 steps in front of the man before he does just bend down and take his wallet. Now, Midoriya just freeze there for a second. The guy would have stabbed him. However, he's making sure this guy is on the verge of constant fear. Interesting. Now, Midoriya does just think, trying to manipulate this guy's emotions a bit more. Let him think he's calm and in control. As Midoriya does bend back upwards and look at the guy, who has a look of satisfaction on his face. Now, the guy would tell Midoriya that he's going to take off now, and if he does follow him again, he's going to kill him. Now, Midoriya does take a step forwards, and asks the guy why he didn't just try and stab him now. As the guy would look at Midoriya. Now, Midoriya, he does feel it, as we do actually have Momo Yaoyorozu, who she does actually look up from her garden, and turn in the direction of Midoriya, along with Mother Shield actually feeling it herself, as she does go to smile as she's sipping from a cup of tea. Now, Midoriya, let's cut back to him. He is currently standing in front of the sky, and the guy, his hand is shaking, and he's incredibly scared. Midoriya asking the guy if he's gonna try to kill him. Try? Please, I've done this before. Now, Midoriya would grab the guy by his wrist, and the guy would be caught off guard trying to bring up his other hand. Midoriya grabbing his other hand with his left hand, before just putting the blade directly up to his own throat, as Midoriya begins to try and press down with it. And the guy just stares Midoriya in the face, as Midoriya just looks down at him. This is what you were trying to do? The guy's hands shaking immensely, as Midoriya just tell the man that if he's trying to at least intimidate him or frighten him, then at least he could do is keep a steady pace about it. You're crazy. I can kill you just with a move of a hand. Then do it. Now, Midoriya just stare this guy directly in the face, and explain to him word for word what he's going to need to do. He's going to cut his throat and have blood fly directly at him, roughly about half a liter of it, and then he's going to turn around and run with tears in his eyes, as Midoriya's body would fall backwards and hit the ground. And Midoriya explaining more and more things about the situation, and not sparing a single detail, as the guy, he is crying. And eventually he does let go of the blade, as Midoriya does have it in his hand. Now, the man's on his knees in tears, as we do actually have Midoriya, who does just grit his teeth and think, he's such a disappointment. But at the same time, I do get it. I went a bit too far, I was trying to scare him. Fuck. Maybe that was too much. Now, Midoriya does think that, as he does bend down and grab the guy by the collar of his shirt, and pick him up. Midoriya's face looks calm, as Midoriya would ask the guy for all the money he just stole from him. The guy reaching into his pocket and pulling out a giant wad of cash, as he does just say to take all of it. Now, Midoriya would take the money, as he is going to toss the guy to the wall to his right. Now, the moment that has happened, Midoriya is confused, looking down at his hand. That's strange. I didn't mean to do that. Now, the guy, he was hurt. However, Midoriya, he does go to walk away. As the guy does lie there in an alleyway, scared shitless at what just happened. He just met a man who was not afraid of death. And he was even willing to help. Now, Midoriya, he does just think about the new pocket knife he does have, as he does eventually get to Yaoyorozu Manor. And he just flies over the fence. Now, Momo does come out to greet him, as Midoriya would see her a bit more, well, skinnier, or at least a little bit more bony as he does think. Now, Midoriya would ask exactly if she's alright, to which she does explain it to Midoriya. She's getting proper nutrition, she's going over her calorie intakes, and this is still happening to her. In fact, she does believe she knows why, and she's even had a variety of doctors look at her. As far as they're concerned, this is just an effect of her quirk. I see. Well, I had a funny little interaction on my way here. I see, we felt it. Did you now? I'm sorry. What I would say is just bring up his hands. Now, as it has happened, Midoriya, he does go to scratch his face, as the sleeve of his shirt rips. Midoriya would look down at that. Crap. Is that normal? No. I did this with one of my other shirts this morning. It's an effect, Yes, I'm well aware. Now, these two would actually head inside, as Melissa herself does head towards their location. Now, Melissa, she simply does head towards the city. Something's going to happen very soon, and she believes that Midoriya is going to be the one who causes it. So, she does want to see it. That being her thoughts as she stands floating over the city by a skyscraper. And she does look down at the street, where a lot of commotion's being caused. Now, Melissa watches a villain attack, and it makes her wonder, as pro-heroes are fighting it off. Now, we do cut back over to Midoriya, as him and Momo have both sat down. So, we're the horseman. Yeah, I've kind of looked into it. However, it also does make sense. With everything she's told me, she's being honest. Along with these extraordinary changes we're both going through, Midoriya would say, as somebody does actually walk up to him and hand him a shirt. Now, Midoriya would look at it, as it's a nice button-up shirt that is pure black. Oh, Midoriya would say is just grab it and say thank you, asking exactly why did she grab this for him. That was one of my father's. I asked somebody if they can get you a shirt, and I believe it should be your size, close to it, possibly just a little bit bigger. Now, Midoriya would look at the tag, as it does show that it's a extra large shirt. And Midoriya, he does at least wear a large shirt now. At least that's what he believes, since his current shirt is currently ripping off of his body. Now, Midoriya would just say thank you, as he does just go to grab down at his shirt and pull it up. Now, Momo would see Midoriya, as she just stare at him confused for a second. Now, she does see the way he does look. Physically buffer and a very toned body. It seems almost weird, as she just stare at him as he does actually go to grab the black shirt and put on the button up. As he does ask Momo exactly if she's staring at him. Sorry. I'm just kind of confused. You do look a lot different. I do notice some changes with you. So, I was wondering about our powers. Yes, those. Now, Momo would lay out what she is do with her powers to Midoriya. Her writing down on a board that she does have laid out in front of her. Everything she can do. And Midoriya himself would actually take the board after her and write down what he does now. Now, Momo would look at this as she's kind of intrigued. Now, Momo, she does at least try to ask Midoriya if he can do a demonstration, since that would probably be the best for them. Now, well, Midoriya, he actually does think about it, as we do actually have in the city, where a massive riot does break out, and people start to fight one another. Now, we do then have Melissa, who she actually does bring her hands up and she just starts to clap about what she's seeing. The villain was causing mass hysteria. And then all of a sudden, more hysteria began to pop up in more areas. Now, today a lot of things happen. People start fighting one another and a lot of people would die. Now, the current death toll for what happens today in this single city, where a massive riot causes over 1,500 deaths. Midoriya, he is held responsible. Not by the government, however. Midoriya does blame himself, and he knows that that was him. There is something going on within his own mind, however. He's both proud and ashamed. Why is that? That being what Midoriya does have go through his head, as he does know that these riots are his doing. Now, you do actually have Momo, who herself does bring up her hand and think about what happens next. Now, Momo, she does currently think about cutting off the food supply to a certain country and seeing exactly what will happen. Now, she would do this, and it would take a few weeks to see the results. However, she does know that it's already starting to have an effect, since she felt a numerous amount of agricultural plants die in one single instant. Now, with all that being said, Shigaraki, after he was rushed to the hospital 1 week ago for his sudden, collapse, he began to start talking and having ravings about a particular sickness. Now, people believed that it was possibly due to stress. Shigaraki started talking about the Black Plague and many other certain types of diseases that would pop up. They even believe it to be due to the stress and, fear that was caused by the diseases he's already cured. So, they put him in a padded cell, where he would stay by himself away from people for some time. However, he would only ever seem to address people by doctor, and not talk to anybody who would not address him the same way. So, it was particularly strange, along with what they called his loony episodes, or, as they call it, north, east, west, and south, where his head would look in particular directions. Now, this was quite strange. However, no one has really thought too much about it. Now then, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. Catch you guys in the next part.